A diplomat's duty, a rebel's heart. The massive space station Harmony hung suspended in the void between Earth and the Zifran border, a glittering hub of diplomacy and uneasy alliances. When Ambassador Lyra Vex stepped out of her shuttle, her violet, crystalline skin caught the artificial light, casting prismatic reflections across the docking bay. She was here for one purpose, to negotiate a last-chance treaty for her dying world. Zyphira's ecosystem was collapsing. Centuries of mining their rare luminite crystals, now vital for Earth's quantum technology, had poisoned their soil. The High Council had sent Lyra, their most skilled diplomat, to secure Earth's agricultural aid before their people starved. But the moment her boots touched the station's polished floors, she felt eyes on her. Not just the wary stares of human officials, but one gaze in particular, sharp, curious, and unguarded. The human who didn't look away. Commander Jace Holt wasn't supposed to be there. As the station's chief botanist, his place was in the arboretum, not the diplomatic reception. Yet when Director Kara Rhodes introduced the Zifran delegation, Jace stood at the back, arms crossed, studying Lyra with an intensity that made her pulse flicker. Unlike the other humans in their stiff uniforms, Jace wore a faded green jacket, sleeves rolled to his elbows, his hands still faintly streaked with soil. His dark brown hair was slightly unruly, as if he'd run his fingers through it too many times. And his eyes, green like Earth's forests, held none of the suspicion the others did. Only fascination. Lyra forced herself to look away. Professionalism first. A forbidden meeting in the gardens. That night, unable to sleep, Lyra wandered the station's lower decks. The air here was thicker, humid, alive with the scent of growing things. She followed it to Deck 7, the Arboretum. The doors slid open, revealing a vast, climate-controlled garden. Earth plants thrived beside alien flora, their leaves shimmering under artificial sunlight. And there, kneeling beside a bed of glowing blue flowers, was Jace. He looked up as she entered, surprise flashing across his face. Then he grinned. Couldn't resist, huh? Lyra stiffened. I was merely curious about Earth's agricultural methods. Jace chuckled, wiping his hands on his pants. Right. And I'm just here to water the ferns. He gestured to the flowers before him. These are Zifran star blooms. I've been trying to cross them with Terran orchids. Lyra's breath caught. Star blooms only grew in the sacred valleys of her home. How did you trade samples before the embargo? His voice softened. They react to touch. Here. Before she could protest, he took her hand, his skin warm, rough with calluses, and guided her fingers toward the petals. The moment she made contact, the flower pulsed with light, its glow spreading like liquid silver through its veins. Lyra gasped. On Zyphira, star blooms only did that for. They recognize you, Jace murmured. A spark that shouldn't exist. Their eyes met. Something electric passed between them, not just the strange energy of her people's biology, but something deeper. Dangerous. Lyra pulled back. This is inappropriate. Jace didn't look away. Why? Because I'm human. Because your council would disapprove. Because I'm here to save my world, she hissed. Not to. Not to what? He stepped closer. Not to feel something. She should have left. But the way he looked at her, like she was a mystery worth solving, not a political obstacle, made her hesitate. Then the alarms blared. A warning in the dark. Red emergency lights flooded the arboretum. A voice crackled over the comms, all personnel, report to sectors. Unauthorized energy spike detected. Jace's eyes widened. That's not a drill. Lyra's wrist comm buzzed, a message from her aide. Ambassador, return immediately. Security is sweeping the station. They think someone's smuggling luminite. Jace grabbed her arm. You need to go. Now. But as she turned, she noticed something. The star bloom she'd touched was now glowing too brightly. And where Jace's fingers had brushed her skin, a faint silver mark shimmered, like a burn, but cold. Something was wrong. And it had started the moment they touched. The mark that shouldn't exist. Lyra stared at the silver streak on her wrist, the place where Jace's fingers had brushed against her skin. It pulsed faintly, like a slow heartbeat. This isn't normal. Ziphrans didn't react to human touch this way. At least, that's what the High Council had always claimed. Our species are biologically incompatible, they'd said. No risk of contamination. But the evidence was right there, glowing on her arm. Jace saw it too. His brow furrowed. Did I hurt you? Lyra yanked her sleeve down. No. It's nothing. The alarm still wailed in the distance. Someone shouted orders down the corridor. We need to move, Jace said, grabbing her hand again, then freezing when she flinched. This time, the reaction was worse. A sharp, icy pain shot up her arm, and the silver mark spread, branching like veins under her skin. Jace let go instantly. Okay. Not touching. Got it. The hidden lab. He led her through the arboretum's back passages, past rows of experimental flora, until they reached a sealed door marked, Botanical Research, Restricted. Jace keyed in a code, and the door hissed open. Inside was a small lab, cluttered with data pads, specimen jars, and a single glowing tank where a hybrid plant, half Terran, half Zifran, floated in liquid. Lyra's breath caught. You've been experimenting with our biology? Jace shook his head. Not me. The station's medical team. They've been studying cross-species compatibility for years. He pulled up a file on a holoscreen. Look. The screen displayed a classified report. Project Symbiosis, Findings, Zifran-Human Cellular Interaction. Lyra's stomach twisted as she read. Initial tests confirm, Zifran epidermal cells react aggressively to human bioelectric fields. Prolonged contact leads to cellular degradation in both species. Fatal if untreated. She looked up, horrified. They knew. Jace's jaw tightened. And they didn't warn us. The station's dark agenda. A voice crackled over Jace's comm, Commander Holt, report to Sector 5 immediately. Ambassador Vex's delegation is demanding her location. Jace muted it. They're locking the station down. Lyra's mind raced. If her people found out about this, the treaty would collapse. Zyphira would cut all ties with Earth. And without Earth's agricultural aid, her planet would starve. But if she stayed, if she kept seeing Jace, whatever was happening to her body would get worse. Lyra, Jace said softly, we need to figure out what's happening to you. She met his eyes. And then what? He didn't answer. The first symptom. Then the pain hit. A searing wave tore through Lyra's chest, and she doubled over, gasping. The silver marks on her arm burned, spreading toward her shoulder. Jace caught her before she fell. The moment his hands touched her, the reaction intensified, her skin flickered like a dying star. Okay, definitely not good, he muttered, pulling her toward the lab's med scanner. The machine beeped as it analyzed her. The results flashed red. Warning, foreign cellular integration detected. Zifran physiology rejecting human biosignature. Estimated system failure, 72 hours. Lyra's blood ran cold. 3 days. That's how long she had before her own body turned against her. A choice in the dark. Jace's grip on her tightened. There has to be a way to stop this. Lyra looked at him, really looked at him. The way his fingers trembled against her, the fear in his eyes. He barely knew her, and yet he was risking everything. Why are you helping me? She whispered. He hesitated. Then, quietly, because when you touched that flower, it didn't just glow for you. It glowed for me too. The implication hung between them. Starblooms only reacted that way for one reason, a bond. A bond that wasn't supposed to be possible. The escape. Footsteps pounded outside the lab. Jace swore, shoving a data chip into Lyra's hand. Take this. Everything they've hidden about our species, it's all there. She clutched it. What about you? He gave her a crooked smile. I'll buy you time. Then he kissed her. Just once. Just fast. And the world exploded in silver fire. The ghost in the machine. Lyra waited until the medbay's night cycle activated before making her move. The energy restraints around her wrists flickered, just for a second, as she pressed the starbloom petal Jace had given her against the locking mechanism. Zifrin flora reacted to bioelectric fields. And right now, her body was overflowing with unstable energy. The restraints hissed open. Into the belly of the beast. She moved like a shadow through Harmony Station's maintenance corridors, following the faint pulse of the petal in her palm. It glowed brighter as she neared Sector X, a restricted zone even most senior staff couldn't access. The door was sealed, but the security panel sparked when she touched it, her corrupted biology short-circuiting the system. Inside was a lab unlike anything she'd seen before. Rows of stasis pods lined the walls. And in each one, a hybrid. Half human, half Zifrin. Failed experiments. The director's secret. I wondered when you'd find this place. Lyra spun. Director Rhodes stood in the doorway, a pulse pistol leveled at her chest. You're not trying to cure the binary curse, Lyra breathed. You're trying to weaponize it. Rhodes smiled. Imagine soldiers who could kill with a touch. No bullets. No bombs. Just, contact. She gestured to the pods. None survived more than a few hours. Until you. Lyra's blood ran cold. That's why you let me live. You need my DNA. Rhodes' finger tightened on the trigger. I just need you alive. Not whole. The rescue. The shot never came. A blur of motion, a crash, and Jace was there, slamming Rhodes into a console. His skin was mottled with silver veins, his breathing ragged. You're supposed to be in containment. Rhodes snarled. Jace grinned, blood on his teeth. Yeah. I get that a lot. He tossed Lyra a stolen access card. Lab 9. There's a shuttle prepped. Go. She didn't move. Not without you. Rhodes lunged for the alarm. Jace kissed her. Not Rhodes. Lyra. And as their lips met, the world ended in silver fire. The silver storm. The moment Jace's lips met hers, Lyra's world turned to lightning. A surge of energy erupted between them, her skin flared with silver light, veins of luminous fire racing across her body. The pain was excruciating, beautiful, like her very cells were tearing apart and reforging themselves. Jace staggered back, his lips tinged blue, his breath coming in ragged gasps. Lyra? She couldn't answer. Her vision whited out as the reaction spread, her body convulsing. The last thing she saw before collapsing was the door bursting open, armed security rushing in, and Jace throwing himself in front of her. Then everything went dark. Waking up in chains. Lyra awoke in a sterile medbay, her wrists clamped to the bed with energy restraints. The silver markings now covered half her body, pulsing faintly. Director Kara Rhodes stood at the foot of the bed, arms crossed. You're lucky to be alive, Ambassador. Lyra's voice was raw. Where's Jace? Rhodes' expression tightened. Commander Holt is being held for treason. Interspecies contact is strictly forbidden, especially after what you just experienced. She tapped a console, and a hologram flickered to life, a scan of Lyra's cells, fracturing under some invisible force. Your biology is rejecting his. And his is rejecting yours. Lyra's stomach dropped. We call it the binary curse, Rhodes continued. Zifferin and human DNA can't coexist. One will eventually destroy the other. The lie of Harmony Station. Lyra struggled against her restraints. You knew. This whole time, you knew. Rhodes didn't deny it. Project Symbiosis was meant to find a workaround. A way for our species to share resources, without this happening. She gestured to Lyra's glowing skin. But then you and Holt had to go and fall in love. Lyra spat. Rhodes' silence was answer enough. Jace's sacrifice. The door slid open, and 2 guards dragged Jace in. His face was bruised, his uniform torn. But when he saw Lyra, he smiled. Hey. You're alive. Lyra's chest ached. You idiot. Why did you kiss me? He laughed weakly. Seemed like a good idea at the time. Rhodes cleared her throat. Commander Holt has volunteered for an experimental treatment. If it works, it could slow the reaction in both of you. Lyra went cold. And if it doesn't? Jace met her eyes. Then I'll burn out before you do. The choice. As the guards hauled Jace away, he slipped something into Lyra's palm, a tiny, glowing starbloom petal. When the time comes, he whispered, follow the light. Then he was gone. And Lyra was left with a choice. Save her planet. Or save him.